I read 11 books in January and I'm really excited to talk about them. I want to start getting back into doing regular monthly wrap-ups. This is the start of that. If you're new, my name's Lachlan and I like to talk about the books that I've read. Here's to wrapping up everything I read last month. First book I finished in 2026 was Malice by John Gwynne. It is a little bit slow going and there are a lot of characters. I would not recommend that you listen to this on the audiobook, but basically it's a high fantasy, high stakes, some of the best action sequences that I've ever read in my entire life are in this book. This author knows how to write some action. It was so good. I loved the world as well. I love that there's a lot of traveling in this book, and that's one of my favorite things in a fantasy book is when characters are traveling or when they're like, by a campfire and they're sitting by the fire and like telling stories and getting to know each other. And there's a lot of characters in this book. And so you get so much traveling, so much like interaction between the characters. Basically a star stone fell out of the sky during a time where giants and men were at peace. But this like sword was made. There were different objects made from the star that I thought my book was about to fall. From the star that fell out of the sky. And now in the current day in this book, giants are starting to attack men. And so people are taking it as like a really bad sign that a war is about to break out and that the world is broken. It literally says the world is broken on the back of the book. But you're following 4 main characters, but there are a lot of characters. Corbin, Evnis, Veratus, Nether. And I would say the cons of this book are that it is a little bit slow and you really, really have to pay attention to, maybe it was just me, but like you really have to pay attention to the characters because it can get a little bit confusing. The personalities are not super distinct all of the time. Also, I would say the female I think there's only one female main character and she doesn't really like have a huge impact. So I would also say like that's not the strong point of this book, but I'm really, really excited for book 2. I just had like the best time. This wasn't even like a 5-star prediction. I just wanted to read a high fantasy as my first book of 2026. And I'm really glad that I did. And I ended up really loving this. I gave it 5 stars. Towards the end, unless I just like totally missed something, but there are things that we don't really get answers for. So I'm really excited to dive into book 2. I think it's called Valor. But yeah, I'm super excited that I finally picked this up because it was an intimidating book, but I really enjoyed it. And then I reread Heated Rivalry. So I started my reread of this at the end of 2025 because I really wanted to watch the show, but I wanted to reread the book just so I had solidified who these characters were in my head. And if you live under a rock, okay, Patrick Starr, I live under a rock and I feel like I do. Maybe not. I am kind of chronically online, but if you live under a rock and you've not heard of Heated Rivalry, oh my God, let me introduce you to a freaking gay ass masterpiece. One of them is bi, one of them is a gay awakening, okay? But basically they're rivals. This is like the most rivals to lovers you could ever place your eyeballs upon. It is so good. It's instant attraction, but slow burn. You pretty much fall in love with them. The banter is everything. They're hockey players for the Boston Bears and then also the Montreal Voyageurs. So they're rivals for the really long time, and one of them is not out of the closet, and it has a lot of representation, I think, for the queer experience. Rachel Reed is a queer woman. There's a lot of, I guess, like debate on women in general writing queer romance when it comes to like male. These characters have a lot of depth. They're not just caricatures. So for that reason, I don't see it as dumbing them down to objects. I don't see that at all. This series is not that. I find a lot of comfort in this and a lot of joy, and it's just like really, really good. So if you're looking for a rivals to lovers hockey romance and make it gay, there you go. I mean, bisexual too. I just say gay because like it's gay. You understand. Okay, and then I read Unsteady by Peyton Corinne, I don't know. This one's been on my TBR for quite a while, and we're following Reese and Sadie, and Sadie comes across Reese. He's kind of like this like sad, she calls him like this, the boy with the sad eyes or whatever, and he has like panic attacks from something that he's experienced, and she kind of helps him through it with music and just like being the amazing person that she is, very empathetic. And they bond over them. It is very short, but they bond very quickly. It is sort of kind of insta love, but it's a quick little hockey romance, and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't like a 5-star, it didn't knock me off my feet. They kind of just help each other heal, and it's really endearing and heartwarming. I actually just finished book 2. But it's currently February, so I'll talk about that next month. I'm excited for the 3rd book. And then I picked up the Reformatory, which was a book, I think it was on my 12 for 2025, if I'm remembering correctly. But this I've been really looking forward to. And basically we're following Robbie Summers and his sister Grace Gloria. Yeah, so Robbie gets wrongfully accused of assaulting this white woman, and he gets sent to this boy reformatory school that's actually based on a real life reformatory. It's near Jacksonville, Florida, where I grew up. It's like sort of near, I think maybe Tallahassee or something, between Tallahassee and Jacksonville. I'm not really sure. But yeah, so he gets sent there. And it is paranormal. It is a long book too. But he gets sent there. Weird stuff starts happening. Like the grounds are haunted, and there's been a lot of trauma. A lot of boys are horribly treated, mistreated, and abused at this school. And his sister is very determined to make sure that her brother gets released because he's innocent. And this takes place in the Jim Crow era, so there's a lot of racism going on. He's basically put into the reformatory because of racism, obviously, and so she takes it upon herself to she wants to clear his name and rescue her brother because she just feels like he's getting abused in this essentially young boy prison reformatory, quote unquote. And so you go through a lot in this book. It deals with systemic racism, institutional racism, generational trauma. The bond between siblings is a big theme in this book. Justice, resistance, all of the above. I would say that I really enjoyed this, but it was just so long. I feel like that was the main con. Other than that, this was incredible. You just really have to go into it knowing that it's a kind of a slow burn and it's not like super fast paced. The horrors that you're witnessing are things that really happen to people. I really love the key messages of this book, and I really love the ending. The ending is really good, but the length, it was just a little bit too long, and the words are not super big, and there are a lot of pages. I don't know why, but whenever I bought the book, I mean, it's literally like almost 600 pages. And whenever I bought this, and like, it doesn't feel like a thick book, so I didn't really think about it. And then once I started it, I was like, wait, this is actually quite long. But yeah, I did also, what's the word? Immersion read. So I immersion read this and I had a really good time. It was just a little bit long, but I do highly recommend. Okay, and then I have a placeholder for a book, so I wouldn't forget. I reread Heated Rivalry again. I read it in between my ebook and my audiobook. This was whenever I got back into playing Sims again. I mostly read it on my Kindle, but then once I was playing Sims, I started listening to the audiobook a little bit. Oh wait, or was that with the long game? Yeah, so I reread it again just because I had finished the show at this point, and I was going to rewatch the show. I started rewatching it, but it is extremely spicy, like very, very. With my rewatches, I like to have things on in the background sometimes, and it was just like, I was like, oh, this is not a show I can just like casually rewatch. I loved it. I just want to reread it again. And then we have The Long Game. And basically, if you read Heated Rivalry and you don't read The Long Game, what is wrong with you? Because this book is just as incredible, if not more. I think I actually love this a lot more. I love both, but like this, it's so good. They've been keeping their relationship secret for 10 years. 10 years. Can you imagine? I mean, I really cannot. I cannot imagine 10 years secret relationship. So they're everything. I feel like if you read anything in 2026, let it be Heated Rivalry and The Long Game. I also have the rest of the series. I filmed a book haul, which is coming probably next week, but I need to edit it. Yeah, so I got the whole series. I'm really excited. Yeah, highly recommend, 5 stars all around. I'm really excited to reread and annotate. I was reading on my Kindle, and then I finished my reread of City of Bones. I started reading this, I think like early in the year, on reading sprints with patrons. So it was actually New Year's Eve, I think. I just kind of like picked it up on a whim. I knew a lot of my friends were rereading this series, so I was like, oh, let me just like go ahead and join in on the fun. And I don't regret picking it up, but the first time I read this, I gave it 5 stars. I mean, what? The first time I read this, I gave it 3 stars. Was it 3 or 2? I think it was 3, because it's not like the best, but something about Cassandra Clare's writing, it's just kind of comforting. So yeah, City of Bones. Am I going to continue my reread of the series? No. I might do Infernal Devices though, because I do love that series. This is like one of the best trilogies ever. I'm obsessed. I love it. Then I read Dead of Winter, and this one we're following a group of people who are secluded in this cabin. They think that they're going on vacation, and then the bus gets sidetracked. There's a winter storm, and they get basically not locked in, but they're secluded and they can't get out. Everything's stuck because of the winter storm. People die. You're trying to figure out who is killing off everyone one by one. And I honestly forgot that this was a book whenever I was reading it. I read it for Patreon, so I have a full reading vlog. If you're interested, it's on my Patreon, full of all of my thoughts, all of the spoilers. I get into the nitty gritty of this book. Like, I was solving a crime. The FBI should freaking hire me. I would say I really loved it. It wasn't a 5-star because I did predict pretty early on what was happening, but then I got so sidetracked by everything. I love Darcy Coates. I'm really excited to read more of hers. She does a lot of horror, thriller, and paranormal stuff, and I want to read her whole backlist because I've enjoyed everything that I've read from her, and this was no exception. I loved it. I think it's actually one of my favorites from hers. I think I've given her other ones 4 stars. And then I read Home is Where the Bodies Are. Oh, I also DNF'd a book. I DNF'd You Shouldn't Have Come Here. That book shouldn't have been written. You Shouldn't Have Come Here, really quick, if we can just discuss this, is so bad. It's so corny. It's so cringy. At one point, he compares her to an onion. He says the other girls were like turnips, but Grace, oh my God, she can be peeled. She has layers. She can be grilled. You can grill onions. You can roast them. I'm like, is he the killer? Like, and I don't know if he was supposed to be likable. I can't remember if he was supposed to be dislikable, but I just could not go on anymore. Quite literally, I think the cringiest thriller I've ever picked up. And I feel like I've picked up some cringy thrillers, but that one, that took the cake. I'm so glad that I never purchased the physical copy because it was trash. So I don't know what I was thinking, but then I picked up Home is Where the Bodies Are. I think because I've heard better things about this one, and it was better. It was not nearly as bad as You Shouldn't Have Come Here. However, it wasn't that great either. I did read it in one sitting. This one, basically, this mother dies and then they all come home. Well, I think Beth is the one who was with the mother whenever she died. But anyway, Michael and then her sister Nicole, Beth, Nicole, and Michael are all together, and they stumble upon these home videos where some shit goes down. They see in the video that their dad is like covered in blood and like there's a body and stuff. And years ago, I guess some girls had gone missing. And so you're trying to figure out what happened. It was very apparent to me what happened. There was no question in my mind. I was like, oh, well, obviously this. There was never a question in my mind of like, who was the person? And so for that, it was not enjoyable because it just didn't leave me on the edge of my seat at all. I feel like thrillers are so easy to read, and it wasn't like the worst thing that I've read, but it was just so predictable. So predictable. Like from the start, I know where it's going, and it went exactly in the direction that I assumed. Yeah, it just wasn't like the best, but I really love the cover, and I feel like it could have been so much better if Geneva Rose had added more characters, made it a little bit more convoluted, just something. We needed other elements to this, but it is short. You can read it pretty quickly, so for that, I mean, it's like popcorn, whatever. It's fine. It just is not like, I don't know why this author's so popular, but whatever. Then I read Enchantra, and I'm conflicted. So I had started annotating, and clearly you can kind of see, like, I don't know if you can see, but like towards the end, I kind of stopped annotating, which is ironic because the ending was a lot better than the beginning and the middle. The ending was so good. We're following Genevieve, and her mom dies, and then she gets a invitation to Enchantra, and she shows up, and then she realizes that she's kind of like put herself in this predicament, and she has to play along with the game because she's now there, and like this is her reality. And so what am I even saying? Basically, it's relationship of convenience. Yeah, so it says on the back, her only chance to compete as his wife, so they must convince their audience they're desperately in love. But she like secretly hates him and all this stuff. It was kind of cringy, I'm not gonna lie. I just it didn't grip me. I liked Phantasma a lot more. Phantasma was not a 5-star for me, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like the gothic elements were better. I did like the scenery and stuff in this, but it just wasn't like the best thing. But the ending though, I literally had chills. I thought the ending was so good and honestly redeemed the book and like bumped it up a star. I would give this a solid 3.5 star. I think about that ending and I'm just like, whew. It was good. I had chills. And then I read Kiss of the Basilisk, which I guess is kind of, I had started reading Kiss of the Basilisk and then I started reading Enchantra, and they're very similar. They're both romanticises. This one though was not good. This is a love triangle, but one of the love interest is like a freaking crybaby. I could not stand. Just so privileged. At one point, he was saying something about not being able to like choose his destiny or something. And it just came off as so freaking annoying because he's sitting there as like, I think he's like the king's son or whatever. And he has like all of this wealth and all of this like beautiful things around him, and he could never want for anything. So I have a hard time empathizing. It just was kind of, the vibe was like, I'm sorry, I just can't empathize with like someone who is so wealthy and has so much power, but no power at the same time. because they're like under their father's boot or whatever. I don't know. And that was one element of it. So that's not like the whole book, but I know I'm not even describing this book very well, but I just didn't like it. I thought it was really cringy, and I will not be reading book 2. I do know what happens in book 2. I accidentally kind of spoiled myself, but then not really on accident because I was looking it up and then I just came across what happened. And I kind of understand why people are so pissed about book 2. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I guess it just depends on how you read the love triangle, because for me, I did not read it in a way where book 2 would make me mad, I guess. But in people's defense, it is like a character assassination in a way, or whatever, however you want to put it. And I guess that pisses people off, and that's totally understandable. Character assassination is pretty annoying, especially when someone, well, I don't know, he was kind of a douche in this book though, right? Like, I don't know, maybe anyway, I know I'm speaking in code and I'm not even explaining it, but Kiss of the Basilisk, basically, the Basilisk is training her to be she has to train with this basilisk so that she can learn how to be a good wife or whatever. And so she's training with him. He's teaching her how like to be sexual and stuff, because she's really like not been that way in her whole life. And then they kind of, have like a thing, and then the king's son, she starts having a thing with him, and then it's kind of like tug of war type thing. The world itself, I just was not gripped by this story. Yeah, she's never been kissed, and then she like goes into this like deeply sexual world, and she's like being shown all these things, and then she falls in love with 2 people, and then it's just like, I didn't love it, which kind of sucks because I have 2 copies of this book. I have the indie published, and then I have this one. If you've read book 2, let me know. Should I read it? Should I continue? I just don't have anything noteworthy to say on this. That's everything I read in January. Let me know what your favorite reads from January were, what your least favorite read was, what you want to read in February. I'm currently reading, what am I reading? Oh, The Royal Assassin. Yes, book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. Is that what it's called? I don't know, but by Robin Hobb. If you made it this far, please leave an icicle and a bear emoji, because I feel like I've been hibernating like a bear. And it's wonderful. I'm not complaining. Thank you so much for being here. If you did like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any videos from me. And I do have a Patreon where I post extra videos, and also have an Instagram if you want to follow me on there. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. To a room with some lace and paper flowers.